over. An epic game 3. And Southside are through to their 3rd grand final in 4 seasons. Reed swoops on the crown with massive basket.
3. You are kidding me.
And the fire burned brightest. Townsville are WNBL champions for the 4th time.
Welcome to Qudos Bank Arena on Wongal land, where it's the Sydney Flames taking on the Melbourne Boomers to round out another fantastic round of Cygnett WNBL hoops. The big story today will be Boomers Championship trio Kayla George, Tess Madgen and Guy Malloy facing their former side for the first time, only this time they'll be in enemy colours. Melbourne rebounding machine Keely Froling also faces her old side today, and it's the team she captained last year. I'm Julia Montesano and I'm joined by NBL 1 Championship coach Mark Alabakov. Mark, what are you expecting from today's game?
Well, for Sydney, you've got a potential morale-boosting win up for grabs against the ladder leaders. I thought they were out of sync in their first performance, but started to find their way against the Bendigo Spirit. It's a chance for them to go up a level to try and get themselves another W today. For Melbourne, they found a way to 2 wins. There's lots of room for improvement for them, particularly in the efficiency of their offense. They had Keely Froling and Sarah Blitzarves go a combined 10 of 53. They've got to find a way to get both of them integrated into more high-percentage shots to beat the Flames.
Seeing shots of Kayla George and Keely Froling, Tess Madgen on the court as well, but not expected to play. How would they be feeling about facing their former teams today, Mark?
Well, I think they're all consummate professionals, so it'll be just another game, but an undercurrent might be a bit of a point to prove. You know, for Sydney, Kayla George, Guy Malloy, Tess Madgen, years of service and hundreds of wins with the Boomers, culminating in that 2021 championship. They'll bring that experience. For Melbourne, Keely Froling, a challenging year that she gets a fresh start now with the Boomers and a chance to bring some of the championship experience she had with the Capitals into a new era for the Boomers and lead them.
Absolutely, it's going to be a riveting contest. Each team started the season so far. Melbourne has gone 2 from 2. Both wins came on the road. Sydney lost to Perth, then won against Bendigo in Mildura on Friday night. Mark, what's the key to each team winning today?
For Sydney, it's order and clarity in their offense. So can they continue to get good looks for Lauren Nicholson on the move, for Kayla George posting up in that short corner where she likes to operate? Those paint touches from both of those players will create more organic three-point shooting opportunities. Their three-point shooting hasn't been great, but I think where it can come out of the context of their offense, they've got capable shooters. For Melbourne, they've got to make it a grind. The possession play is going to be their thing. Offensive rebounding percentage, they're last in the league. So missed shots that they recover back as a possession, they're only at 26%, but they've got a really bullying lineup that's able to go after the basketball and get it back for them.
Let's take a look at Sydney's lineup to start off with. Starting 5, Lauren Nicholson, Dee Richards, Emma Clark, Kayla George and Paige Bradley. Mark, a breakout performance from Dee Richards on Friday night. Can she back up that double-double today?
Yeah, she was great. You know, being able to get to the rim, she's explosive with her first step quickness. You know, her MO is always going to be that she's a great defender. And as she gets more exposure to this league, it's a very different game to the WNBA where she last was. I think we'll find her become who she is as an athlete, as a WNBL player, you know, the more exposure she has to this league.
And then we're going to take a look at the Melbourne lineup up next. In the starting 5, Canada, Hillman, Reed, Froling and Blitzarves. And we see a number 14 on the bench, Monique Conti. She looks like she's going to suit up today. Mark, what does she bring to this lineup?
I can't wait. She's a fierce competitor, and she's the same person whether the ball's round or oval. She's a tenacious defender. She won't back down from challenge. And I think that play-to-win mindset that she has and brings everywhere with her, that's going to permeate through this Boomers group with her on the floor.
Absolutely, she brings a lot of energy to this Boomers lineup, that's for sure. In terms of the way to follow this game, we have the official WNBL app, which is finally here, and we don't want you to miss a minute of the action. Therefore, for live scores, highlights, all your player and team info and more, download the free WNBL app today. And of course, you're watching on 9 now, so keep it on this channel because no doubt it'll be a really exciting game today. In terms of some players to watch today, Mark, who have you got your eyes on?
Well, for me, for Melbourne, it's going to be Froling and Blitzarves. You know, they're two similar players that they're tall, athletic, primarily drivers, but they can be real bullies for position on the floor and possession of the basketball, and that's a huge boon for your basketball program if you've got those two out there. You know, can they dominate possession and lead the league in and ones? for the Flames, Lauren Nicholson, great scorer, someone that needs to drive a lot of their perimeter scoring, both on the move and being able to catch and shoot the three ball. She needs to get going for them to try and keep that offensive scoreboard ticking over.
It's first versus eighth, but it feels like it's going to be a whole lot closer today. It's tip-off at Qudos Bank Arena between the Flames and the Boomers. A grudge match between a lot of former teammates going head-to-head today. It's Bradley to start things off for Sydney. She's going to kick a pass out to Nicholson, their leading scorer. George, leading rebounder, gets the first bucket of the game. Great for her confidence.
An amazing start. I mean, we just mentioned, try and get Nicholson on the move and get George a post up in the short corner.
We know what Canada can do with ball in hand. She's been electric to start her campaign. So too was Reed, gives it off to Froling, double teamed, finds Reed again, and they'll kick it around here, Melbourne. Now Blitzarves posting up on Nicholson, couldn't quite get the shot to go. She's still alive for the rebound, but shot clock is timed out. But Melbourne get the rebound, and Froling's there to get a basket in front of her, against her former team, I should say.
And great hustle by Blitzarves to keep that ball alive.
Bradley to Nicholson. And George left wide open. Can't punish them though. She'll get another go at it. Once Nicholson thought about the shot, then went in a bit closer. And that's a better look from Lauren Nicholson.
So 2 possessions in a row, you've had primary actions for your 2 best scorers, and 2 scores go on the board for the Flames.
Blitzarves now. Finds Hillman. That one just rims out. And Blitzarves there for the hustle, but this time it's a Sydney ball. Good start from the Flames. Dee Richards coming off a double-double, 12 points and 12 rebounds against Bendigo on Friday night. She's got a whole lot of potential. Nicholson goes for 3 this time, and Lauren Nicholson's feeling it today. Back-to-back buckets for her. Right now the Boomers are a bit shell-shocked. They've turned it over again. Sydney ball. Leading 7-2 early doors. Searching for their second win of the season. Bradley been their primary ball carrier this season. George. Nicholson. Back to Bradley. Scoops it into George. Nice bit of play here if they can complete it, but Blitzarves is there to pick it off. Going up against George. Goes for the shot. Falls short.
And this is sometimes what happens when you have a start that's less than what you're looking for. Sometimes you can fall out of sync and get tempted to take shots that aren't within the context of your offense because you feel rushed and you feel a little urgency.
Bradley now goes for a 3 herself. Canada's there for the boards. She's using her speed to fly down the court. They kick it out to the corner. That's a perfect shot from Blitzarves.
And so much more patterned on that possession to get feet in the paint first, kick out, extra pass 3 ball.
Dee Richards trying to split the D, gets it to Clark in the corner. She loves this spot. Emma Clark having a real breakout season. Hillman loses it, gets it back and gets the bucket. Sydney tried to loop a long pass, but it'll head back to the Boomers.
I think she thought Kira Rowe was open.
Yes. Not quite. Of course, Keely Froling captained this Sydney Flames team last year. She was the co-captain the year before, now in Melbourne Boomers colours. Fresh start for her, as you mentioned, Mark. And here she is with the ball in hand. The leading rebounder for this campaign so far. Blitzarves wants to get another shot to go. And there was a foul called in the play. Nicholson hit the deck in the process, and it'll head back to Sydney.
I like these actions, so getting Blitzarves and Keely Froling on any sort of staggered or screen away where they can curl towards the basket. Getting them on the move, they can be hard to stop. They're quite strong.
Bradley with the step and the finish. quite found her scoring power this season as of yet. Maybe this is the game for Paige Bradley. Melbourne just working around the three-point line. Froling goes inside, and she'll head to the line for a couple.
A little bit more patient execution there. When you get both Blitzarves and Froling involved in the pick and roll, often that's going to be a switch because they're similar types of players. So the two defenders here will swap who they're guarding, but then it leaves you, if you're out of position or you get screened and you're on that player's back, you're going to have a 2-on-1 facing the hoop. Great job there by Keely Froling.
So Keely Froling, 10th WNBL season, first with Melbourne, averaging 8.5 points, 10.5 rebounds, coming off 9 points and 11 boards against Southside. Able to knock that down. And now it's Sydney's turn to respond, leading 12 points to 7. 6 minutes left to play in the first term. Canada with aggression, but Bradley manages to get it back. Clark to Nicholson. They've got 8 seconds to work with on the shot clock here, Sydney. George has got to go. Surrounded by 2, leaves Richards free, and that's a nice finish from Dee Richards. Looking to continue her fine form from Friday night. Here's Reid under the basket. She'll head to the line for a couple too. So Melbourne finding their way to the line.
And a quick patterned flex cut action there for all the basketball heads that are watching. A screen away for a cutter to go to the basket here. Have ball ready and above your head, ready to throw to an open scorer, and Reid gets a catch, gets on the free throw line out of the play.
Tadara Reid has had a great start to the season. 14 points per game, 8 rebounds, 18 points and 6 boards against Southside.
Well, she does a bit of everything, and she can play, big. She can play against smaller players, whether it's on the defensive end or whether she has to play those positions offensively. Her versatility is going to be a real handy piece to this Boomers lineup.
Richards, as easy as you like, steps into the shot beautifully. It's back-to-back baskets for Dee Richards. So Blitzarves has got to get on the move. Reid for 3. That one just falls short. Nicholson can get going and extend her team's lead. Goes baseline, gets surrounded, kicks it back out to George. Her and Nicholson work together once again, becoming a great partnership. George flicks it around. It's good defense there from Melbourne.
I like seeing Emma Clark go to the offensive glass. So she's a fair athlete. She's got quite a wingspan on her, so she can go and keep possessions alive just by hanging around the basket. If you hang around, good things happen.
So we're going to time out at Qudos Bank Arena. Flames 16 points, leading Melbourne 9 points. And this timeout is brought to you by Cygnett, Australia's #1 digital accessories brand. Cygnett continues to power the WNBL, Australian owned and designed. Cygnett is available at JB Hi-Fi, Officeworks and other leading retailers. Visit cygnett.com. So a hot start for the Flames so far, Mark. What have you liked about their start so far?
Well, they've gone to the 2 primary scorers that we know and have been proven in this league for a number of years, Kayla George and Lauren Nicholson. They get involved in actions throughout all of their offense, whether that's early within the possession or late. The ball comes to those 2 in an action. They're going to make good decisions. But then I think the beautiful thing is the floor spacing of everybody else and being able to keep that separation. So they've got room to operate and be a real headache here for the Boomers to deal with.
And conversely, what's Chris Lucas saying in his timeout?
Well, for them, they've just got to hold their nerve. They sit off Dee Richards for 2 wide-open jump shots. They've probably got to respect her as a shooter a little bit more. But, you take those 2 baskets away, it's only a few hoops in it. I think that, they can continue to run their stuff at the offensive end, but just continue to push the possession play thing.
So Lauren Nicholson leading all scorers so far, 5 points for her. Richards has 4. And then Froling leading the way for the Boomers with 3. On screen now, ready to inbound this pass. Very familiar with this floor, of course. Former Sydney captain. Canada. Familiarising herself with the league before our eyes. 10.5 points per game, 5 rebounds, a near triple-double against Southside. Blitzarves, harassed. Canada's there to mop up. Gets the screen from Froling. Can't quite put it to use, but kicks it out to Blitzarves. Melbourne just get the rebound through Hillman. The corner shot's wide open for Blitzarves again, and this time she makes no mistake.
And that came off the back of possession play. So they've got to really, I use the word bullying physically because they've got strong-bodied athletes who can go and be really difficult to deal with on the offensive glass.
So Richards into Nicholson, leading scorer for this game. George guarded by Froling. This will be a great matchup to watch. This time Froling wins out, and Canada can get going on Panousis. And then just hands it off to Froling. That's a great bit of play from the Boomers. Came out really well out of that timeout, and now just 2 points adrift. Nicholson to Panousis. Subbed on just before that timeout. Nicholson for a long three. Clark, good boards. Nicholson has another chance at it. Can't convert again. Richards dumps it in, but Reed's right there to receive it and gets fouled by Nicholson.
And smart professional foul there by Lauren Nicholson. That could have been a 1-on-0 layup at the other end, or a 2-on-1 where a bad thing could have happened here for the Flames. Comes over and makes a veiled attempt at coming after the basketball, draws the foul. Now they can get back and set with 5 people below the line of the ball.
So both teams utilising some subs. Kira Rowe onto the floor for Sydney, as is Lara McSpadden. And Kalea also coming on for her first minutes today for Melbourne, as is Penina Davidson. Canada now. It's a bit of an errant pass to Kalea, but she's able to mop it up. But Richards right at the bottom of the ring. Bounce pass into Clark. Oh, sorry, McSpadden, and it didn't quite work out.
Yeah, could see something good was going to happen. If it's a 10-90 pass, probably better that she doesn't throw it. Just bring the ball over half, find your guard, and get into your offense.
So Canada up against Panousis. Panousis in for a tough game, you sense. Canada's looking electric to start. And that's a great turnaround jumper.
Jordan, Canada.
Her first points for the game. Panousis now into Richards. Now Nicholson. Just got the ball snatched off her. She's able to wrestle it back. Rose open for 3. Can't drain it. Froling as desperate as ever for the boards. It'll be a Flames ball. So scores level, just over 2.5 minutes to play in this first term. Melbourne have come out firing after that timeout. We'll take a look at this work here from Canada. Put her through the spin cycle.
And she's so patient too, so she's fast off the mark, but then can slow down and decelerate and then survey her options and generally makes the right one.
McSpadden now looking for her first points of the game. Bradley back on the floor. Here is McSpadden, and there is the first bucket for her today.
Nice high-low action for the Flames.
Breaks a run of 3 straight baskets for Melbourne. Sydney now get back in the lead. 18 playing 16 at Qudos Bank Arena. Keely Froling now. Nice bank shot.
And I love that high-low look for them as well. So they go to almost a similar type of action at the other end. Keely Froling able to play through the contact.
McSpadden finds herself again, just ran out of room. So Clark used all the room she had and drained another 3.
Excellent catch and shoot three-point shooter. Cherie Kalia's got to get out with a whole lot more urgency to challenge three-point shots.
The Boomers move the ball with pace. They'll have another go at it. So just like that, the Flames back out to a more comfortable lead. Nicholson coming off for a seat. Taylor George heads back onto the floor just in time to affect the Penina Davidson shot and get the rebound. Bradley. What can she do with ball in hand? Find some space. Not quite sure. McSpadden wanted a bit of George, a bit of Clark in her eyes, but found neither. What can Melbourne do to get themselves a lead at the end of the first period? It'll be Kalea with ball in hand. A star from Mount Gambier in NBL 1. 10 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists were her averages. Canada getting to work on Bradley. Froling finds herself open, and she won't make a mistake from there.
A great mid-range catch and shoot shooter too, so you've always got to be wary of where she is. Give her space, she can knock that one down.
Bradley just couldn't quite scoop the reverse in. So under a minute to play, Boomers trailing by 1. A chance to take the lead for the first time in this game. And there it is. As sweet as you like from Cherie Kalea, I should say. Good to see her injecting herself into the game. Rowe, Bradley. McSpadden came to help. Couldn't find her on the pick and roll. George gets past Froling, banks it home.
She's such a tough matchup because she can shoot the three, so you see the urgency of Keely Froling to get out to that, but then off the bounce, she has this little step fadeaway where she finds her rhythm and finds some separation to get the shot in off the glass.
So shot clock and game clock level here for Melbourne, a chance for them to take the lead into this quarter time break. A nice bounce pass to Froling, and she'll head to the line for 2. Keely Froling feeling it today, 9 points already for her.
Just seems so much more comfortable. There's clarity built into the actions that they're trying to get her the ball with, and then that allows her to take away some of the decision making. She gets the ball knowing she's created advantage. All she needs to do is try and score it.
Monique Conti onto the floor for the first time this season for the last 4 seconds of this one. Of course, played with Southside last season and back in Boomers colours. Froling now. Gets her team the lead. She's got 11 for the game already. Keely Froling. Perfect 4 from 4 from the field. She's going to take a well-deserved rest there on the bench. What could Sydney do with these last 2 seconds? Bradley's off and running. Richards in the corner. Couldn't quite convert it, but it was a great...
Buying a car should feel like a win. That you've got the best deal and a great car. Like the award-winning Ford Everest, with 7 seats, plenty of space, and towing capacity of 3.5 tons, it's perfect for those big family adventures. No wonder it won Wheels Car of the Year. With so many awards across the Ford range, you'll feel like a winner at your Ford dealer.
Welcome back to Qudos Bank Arena, where it's the Boomers leading the Flames by 2 points. Julia Montesano and NBL1 Championship coach Mark Alabakov here to take you through the second term. Mark, Sydney had all the play really in that first term, but Melbourne came good at the right time. What did you make of it all?
Well, I think both teams just need to continue to do what they're doing for the most part. You've got the Flames, who all scorers have been within their starting 5 for the most part. You're shooting 33% from the three-point line, so you're more in sync. So any thought that you don't shoot the three-point shot well needs to be shelved. And you're getting organic shots for your best 2 players within Kayla George and Lauren Nicholson. For the Boomers, they're shooting 56% from the field, working to get shots inside for the likes of Froling. Blitzarv's a little bit, but she's had a few from the perimeter as well. But they're 6 of 10 between them, those 2. We talked pre-game about trying to get them going on the offensive end and the weapons that they can be. They're certainly doing that for the start of the game here.
So 25 plays 23, Melbourne leading the way at Qudos Bank Arena. Monique Conti looking for her first points of the season. Davidson from the corner. Richards there for the boards. Just looking for an option, instead wants to go herself. Clark, Bradley. Scoops it into George, kicks it out to Rowe. Richards again. Collecting the boards easily by the looks of it. Bradley. That one just rims out. Sydney still somehow have it, and Richards gets the well-deserved reward for her hustle.
We praised Emma Clark in that first quarter about hanging around the basket, just keeping the ball alive with fingertips. Gets it to Richards for the 2.
So Reid now wants to dump it into her New Zealand teammate, but Richards is there to cut it off. George. Getting around Davidson. The 2 old teammates go head-to-head, and George wins out.
I reckon those 2 have played a little bit together and against one another at practice a whole lot.
Kalea couldn't quite bank in the response. George. Leading the assist with 3 for the game so far. Into Richards. He's leading Sydney with points with 6. Clark can't get in on the action. Reid with the hustle, finds herself open and scoops that one in.
It's a corner turn by Carrie Graff. That's just relentless persistence right there for possession play.
Clark once again finds herself in that sweet spot, but a whistle's interrupted play. Scores level once again. Sense it'll be quite close throughout this contest. As both teams bring on some subs. Canada and Nicholson coming back on, so 2 big playmakers. Both coaches going to their big name players early on in the second quarter. George to Nicholson. 5 points for her so far. George launches the 3.
Outstanding job, and that's the gravity that Lauren Nicholson has off the dribble. Drags 2 defenders with her, and Kayla George finds a space behind for the open 3.
Reigning MVP is looking good so far this game. Canada just loses it momentarily, but foul was called.
The foul is on Lauren Nicholson.
Kayla George up to 9 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. There you go, the dynamic duo of Froling and Blitzarves back onto the court. Froling 11 points, Blitzarves 5. 2 leading scorers for the Melbourne Boomers. Let's see what they could do here. 3 points down, early doors in this second period. Looking to continue their perfect start to the season. Melbourne have gone 2 from 2, and Canada's been a big part of that.
Wow. Explosive finish, and then gets fingertips to the ball.
Just split the defense there, Jordan Canada. Up to 5 assists for the game already, and now she's getting some scoring on the board too. Up to 4 points. George. Nicholson now. Froling gave her some space, and that was a bad option, because Lauren Nicholson can drain that any day.
And you hear the Boomers calling out switch, so they're switching a taller player onto Lauren Nicholson, but off Kayla George. And then they're hesitant to come and guard her out on the perimeter because they know how quick Nicholson is. Give her a cushion of space and she can hit that shot.
Foul called there on Hillman.
Kayla George picks up that foul.
Foul was on Kayla George.
Return for the Flames.
And a few subs onto the floor. Panousis and Richards coming on. Richards 6 points, couple of rebounds. Looking really good to start this game. Canada. That's as sweet as you like from Jordan Canada. Really starting to feel it in this game. Back-to-back buckets for her. Nicholson. That one just rims out. And Froling, of course she's there for the rebound. Melbourne's leading rebounder this season gets it from Reid. And now into Canada. Finds some space. Hillman gets it to Blitzarves, back into Naz Hillman. And that's her second basket for the game.
And they're giving her a bit of space too, because you had a mismatch at the basket, the smaller Vanessa Panousis dealing with the taller opponent at the rim. Hillman gets the wide open jumper because of it.
Richards and George, and now Nicholson sharing it around. Shot clock down to 5. George pulls the trigger. And Blitzarves is there to mop up. Canada. Wants to use her speed. Getting around Emma Clark and then Kayla George, and now heading to the free throw line.
And you want her to be aggressive. She had 18 assists in the first 2 games combined. But those passing lanes shut down the moment that you're not trying to be aggressive to score the basketball, because people stop over helping to try to blow up the dribble penetration that you have. Her getting to the rim and now shooting the 3, this is going to open up passing lanes for her for the rest of the game.
So we've got a timeout called. Boomers 34, leading the Flames 33. This timeout is brought to you by CTM Sport. Introducing CTM Sport, the experts in travel management for sports teams. With CTM Sport, your team can leave the logistics to our travel specialists and concentrate on their game. As a part of the renowned CTM Group, CTM Sports Travel Management is designed to outperform the competition. Visit ctmsport.com.au today. So the Boomers up by a point. Keely Froling still leading them with 11 points, but Jordan Canada, Mark, working her way into this game. 7 points, 5 assists. She'll be at the free throw line. What have you made of her performance so far?
Well, she stepped up, I mean, exactly as you alluded to. So her being a scoring threat for them opens up everything else. So the 18 assists we mentioned in those first 2 games, she get those on the back of dribble penetration where she's trying to get to the rim. People come and try to get in the road and shrink the space around her, and then she finds people. She does a tremendous job of finding shooters on the 3-point line or bigs at the rim. But then now, you know, when you see she's got that propensity to get other people involved in the game, there's a hesitation and people will stay attached to their matchup. And this is her window now to try and get on the rim, get layups, pull up and shoot the 3 when people give her a cushion of space because they're worried about how explosive she can be with that first step. A great balanced game so far by Jordan Canada.
Has a really impressive resume too. Pick 5 in the WNBA with Seattle, 2-time WNBA champ with the team, now currently playing for the LA Sparks. Got there in 2022 and continued to apply a trade there.
The challenge that the Flames have is there's not a like-for-like matchup that has the same level of quickness to be able to go with her just from that athleticism standpoint.
Can't bake in the second free throw, but Hillman's there for the boards. Into Canada and now Froling. Steps around George. That is great work by Keely Froling. Points count. She's off for 1 more.
And I love this start by Keely Froling. So there's 2 possessions. One where it might have been a 50-50 foul call that wasn't scored, but playing through this contact, I mentioned a little bit at the start of the game and on the Basket Case podcast, her and Sarah Blitzov, Steph Blitzov's my bad. I would love to see those 2 lead the league in and-one baskets. Can they get scores through contact where they fouled and they get an extra shot?
So Froling completes the 3-point play.
Shout out to Steph Blitzov if you're watching.
Absolutely. One of the greats of this league, of course. Panousis into McSpadden now. 2 young guns work together. Richards trying to get past 3 Melbourne defenders and does it with ease.
That seems to be something she's comfortable with, being on the move, catching and having 1 dribble explosive attack at the hoop. It's the 2nd game in a row that they've utilised that from Didi Richards.
Importantly, it breaks a run of baskets from Melbourne. But they're going to get back on the scoreboard here through Reid. Nails a beautiful shot. Tedar Reid, the New Zealand national. Panousis now. Nicholson. Her and McSpadden weren't quite on the same page there.
One thing I really appreciate about Blitzovs, she loves to guard the best offensive perimeter talent for the other team. So you find her at times here matching up or switching comfortably onto Lauren Nicholson.
Here is Nicholson. She's got 5 seconds to work with on the shot clock. Just scoops it up herself and cleverly heads to the charity stripe for a couple.
The thing that makes Lauren Nicholson hard to guard, she's persistent off the dribble, so she never gives up on the play. You don't get an opportunity to rest. So even there, as she looks like, and her shoulders are heading outside of the key, it looks like she's not going to shoot it. You've got to stay alert because she's always a threat to just turn and on a half beat, try and get a shot up where she can wear some contact and get herself to the line.
Quick look at the fouls while we're here as well. George and Froling both on 3. So just a one to keep an eye on for both coaches and, of course, the viewers at home as well. George with 9 points, Froling with 14. So now gets herself in double digits. So Melbourne 41, leading Sydney 37. Over halfway in this second term. Froling finds Blitzarves. That one just falls short, and Richards, once again, she's there. This time she wants to take it on her own. Scoops it to Panousis. Nicholson couldn't quite grab the ball in the corner. It's the right idea. Just a bit too much heat on the pass there from Panousis. Rolling now into Canada. Canada still going. Kicks it out to Blitzarves. Pulls up for a two. A beautiful shot there from Sarah Blitzarves. Panousis now into Richards. And it just gets stolen off her by Canada. Called her name so many times in this game already. Having a great impact. She gets it back at the top. And this time loses out, but the foul will be called. Hits the ground quite hard there, Jordan Canada.
Boomers got out of jail, I think, on that one. That's a 50-50 call. Tries to split the two defenders. Looks like she trips over.
Flames fans.
So they'll be happy to keep it in their front half. Leading by 6, hoping to extend that lead with 3.5 minutes to play in this opening half. After a hot start from Sydney, the Boomers have fought back. And a great finish there from Tara Reid. And they'll head into timeouts here with heaps of confidence. Leading 45-37, 3.5 minutes to play. And this timeout is brought to you by Ford. Brought to you by your local Ford dealer, proudly supporting community basketball in Australia. And it's the Boomers getting on top in this second quarter mark, 18 points to 14. It's been off the work of Jordan Canada, but also Keely Froling, Sarah Blitzarves contributing as well. What do you think Chris Lucas wants from this last 3.5 minutes?
Well, he'll be looking for them to continue to be disruptive defensively, continue to try to push the position of the Sydney Flames, trying to distort some of the execution that they're going to try and have. So they're already compromised with not having Kayla George on the floor, so there's less offensive weapons that have a whole lot of gravity around them that create time and space advantages for you. So if they can disrupt some of that and push the ball further away from the hoop, they can make it really challenging for the Flames to be able to get the type of penetration, whether it's off the cut or whether it's off the post up, to people who are capable scorers in those areas.
I have to correct myself from something I said earlier in the broadcast. Kayla George does have 3 fouls, but Keely Froling only has 1. So relax, Melbourne fans. I think she's going to be all right for the time being. And why wouldn't she be? 14 points, the top scorer so far. Definitely want her on the floor for as much as possible. And Tara Reid, sorry, I should say, up to 9 points now. So she's finding her way into this game slowly but surely as well. Richards, of course, always a presence for Sydney. Bradley now. Just moving it slowly to start off. Want to get out of this timeout on the right note. Bradley this time goes on her own. McSpadden's there for the rebound. Froling was right with her. 2 seconds to work with. They've got to go. Nicholson just pops it up. Good pressure there from Melbourne.
Shot clock violation.
Falls in the violation.
Possession to the Boomers.
In terms of execution, to try to get the type of advantage and time and space that you want, they executed a side pick and roll where the defenders switched. They swapped who they were guarding. They had a smaller Jordan Canada on Lara McSpadden at the rim. That might have been an opportunity to throw to, or it's a tall versus a small on the O glass where we saw the offensive rebound by McSpadden.
Froling kicks it out to Blitzarves. Davidson just reaches over. Bounce pass back out to Blitzarves. And you can't give her too many opportunities because she'll eventually punish you. 3 straight baskets here for Melbourne. Bradley into Richards, finds some space, finds the bucket as well. And Richards is keeping the Flames in this game. Canada now wants some movement from her teammates. Finds Reed. Sydney get the stop.
Offensive foul.
An offensive foul there from the Boomers.
And foul is on Keely Froling, his second.
So Keely Froling gets her second foul. Bradley now. Crowd starting to fill up here at Qudos Bank Arena. Richards. Reed pulls down the boards. She looks good so far in this second term, Tedar Reed. Canada double teamed. Wanted Davidson back, she just wasn't looking. And Richards there to pick it off. Under 2 minutes to play in this opening half now. Bradley. Just wants to have an option come at her. Got Richards. We'll get it back. 5 seconds to work with here. Sydney Clark. It's in the right hands. Trying to dance around Blitzarves. Foul called.
Unlucky there. If she keeps her hands out and is able to wear the contact down the middle, she probably leads it to a contested shot at the end of the shot clock. And that would have been a win on the defensive end for the Boomers.
So another timeout called, sorry Mark. Boomers 48, playing Flames 39.
It's what a lot of coaches refer to as foul discipline. So especially in that late clock, you've done all of the hard work for 22.5 seconds, and then just at that last little bit, you get baited into getting your hands in and trying to go after the basketball. It's unfortunate.
So a minute 25 left. What's each coach's message in this timeout, do you think, Mark? Are they running plays? Is it more of a settling message? What is it?
I think it's probably more of the prior. With a minute 25, you're trying to steal any edge that you can get here just to close out the half and try to go into it with a little bit of momentum. So it's either, you know, an offensive set that you're trying to run patterned for a particular person to create an advantage either for themselves or for the rest of the team. It's almost like a domino that knocks the other dominoes into action. Or it's a defensive change-up. You know, if you're the coach that's coming out of this timeout, you know, against the opponent where they could be drawing something up, what can you do, you know, where they think they're drawing up the answers to the questions? Can you change the questions for a possession or two, or even for this last minute 25, just to try to disrupt their rhythm?
Great to see Tiana Mungaka and Renee Garlett both on the Sydney bench. Of course, Tiana, a solid part of this team last season and now playing a big role off the court. We hope she's doing well, of course, in her health battle. Renee Garlett had some success with the Australian team as an assistant. And now she's getting her chance with the Sydney Flames. Very highly spoken about coach, and of course we know her success as a player as well.
Last touch by the Boomers.
So Sydney ball,
Flames ball.
trailing 48-39. Minute 23 left in this one. Great opening half. Both teams have had their patches of momentum. Right now it's with Melbourne. Lily Rachuno on for her first minutes today. Oh, beautiful find. Bradley and McSpadden working in tandem.
And another dive from Page.
Outstanding passing, great pick set that created the advantage and then rolled to the basket.
Canada into Blitzarves. Up to 10 points for the game, Sarah Blitzarves. This time, doesn't quite work out for her. Let's have a look at this find here from Paige Bradley. A no-look pass to McSpadden, found herself some space and was always going to get that one in and finish off Bradley's good work. So the margin is 7 points, less than a minute to play. The Flames can get themselves right back in this one on the eve of half-time. Clark, that one just falls out. McSpadden couldn't collect it, but it's a baseline ball for Sydney. Some good instructions must have come from Guy Malloy. They've come out with a bit of energy. Here the Flames.
They could potentially get 2 possessions out of the end of this half. You know, you get 2 scores, you can go into the break at touch distance from the Boomers.
And that'll help from Lauren Nicholson. Trailing by 4 now.
Right here, Flames fans, shut it down.
3 straight baskets here from Sydney. Rounding out the quarter with a vengeance. What can Canada do? Got 8 assists for the game to go with 8 points. Verging on double-double. Blitzarves has looked good so far, but that shot fell short. And Sydney can finish this off. With 10 seconds to go, trailing by 2 or 3 points perhaps. Bradley into Richards. Now Nicholson. Bradley found ourselves some space. Couldn't put the 3 down. Melbourne take the rebound. And they'll end half-time with a 4-point lead. It's Melbourne 48, leading Sydney 44 at Qudos Bank Arena. It's been an electric first half, Mark. Each team's had a bit of momentum in patches, but at the end, Melbourne come out on top. What have you liked about their opening half?
Well, I think being able to play that bullying style, so the physicality that they're embracing, I mean, that's going to be their ticket to being a top 4 team and a real championship threat. You look at the lineup there just on screen, you've got physically strong athletes who can play through contact, who can contest for possession at both ends and really lock you up and make it an exhausting experience for 4 quarters to have to deal with that. You've got a stack of really good shots for Froling and Blitzarves, so getting them involved in the game. For the Flames, Kayla George and Lauren Nicholson being involved in a whole lot of actions together. They make good decisions, they create advantages just like this one, where there's a kinship between them from their opals play together. They're able to find one another for wide open scores. Being able to play this way also, it sucks help defenders in, so it creates the openings at the 3-point line for the Flames, and they've been able to shoot at a much better clip than we've seen in the past 2 games because they're coming out of the context of the offense.
It's been a close game throughout so far. Melbourne 25 points to 23 in the first period and then 23 points to 21. So just 2 points the margin in both those quarters. Leading scorers for Melbourne, Froling with 14 points, Blitzarves with 10 points, Canada with 8. And then for Sydney, you've got Nicholson leading the way with 13 and Richards with 10. George has 9 points. So it's the big names getting involved earlier on. And here are the stats for the whole team for the first half, Mark. And what stands out to you?
I mean, how even it is for the most part. I think you'd be happy if you're the Sydney Flames that you're able to go through a whole half. You're only down the 2 baskets so far, but you spent a whole lot of that second quarter without such a big piece of your offense, the league MVP or former league MVP, Kayla George, being missing through foul trouble. So you've got her to inject back into the lineup in the second half. She's going to help to create advantages for you, not only to get on the scoreboard herself, but then engage some help defenders who are going to get other people open.
Well, it's halftime here at Qudos Bank Arena. It's Melbourne 48, leading Sydney 44. Don't go anywhere. We've got an exciting second half coming up for you next.
Use that momentum and power you've created to explode out on your first dribble. Okay, we've got 2 more. 1.
Sometimes as women, we look for perfection as opposed to execution.
The work ethic is important when the players are 40 years younger than you. Cheers.
Everyone, I'm Beck.
I'm Maddie.
And we're here with Lockie and Frankie from Forward Aussie Hoops.
All right, are you ready?
So you have to do what I say. Round out heads. Round out heads.
Ready? Go.
Round out bellies. Round out ankles.
That's impossible.
Go, shoot it. Go, get up.
But show me your best trick.
Yeah, show us.
Ooh. Ooh, okay. Here we go, Lockie.
Do we all have a shot at that?
Yep.
Ooh, nice.
Oh.
Want to dunk it?
Whee!
All right, now our shoulders. Ready?
Oh. Look at. Say, Frankie, get out of here.
Yeah. All right, are we ready?
We're going to do 3
Wait.
push-ups. Go. 1, 2, 3. No.
All new single Aussie parents
What's your heart calling for?
is calling for connection are on a second chance journey to love.
I'm so scared of finding love and losing love again.
And they've given their kids complete control.
I don't want you to get hurt. I'll pick up the pieces.
All new My Mum, Your Dad.
To love.
To love.
Stream the latest episodes on 9 now.
Hello, Australia. Want to go for a ride?
A summer heatwave has arrived.
This is it. This is what we've been waiting for.
4 spicy nights a week.
It's open season. It's Love Island.
Be afraid, boys.
The power has shifted. The girls are in charge.
What the hell? What the hell?
Surprise! The steamy villain era has arrived. New Love Island. New episodes drop Monday to Thursday on 9 now.
Welcome back to Qudos Bank Arena on Wangul land, where it's Melbourne leading Sydney by 4 points at halftime. Julia Montesano and former WNBL assistant coach Mark Alabakov about to take you through the second half. Mark, what do you think each coach would have said at the halftime break?
Well, in a lot of ways, both of them are probably preaching a similar message to hold their nerve. I mean, this has been an arm wrestle for 2 quarters with a lot of swings of momentum throughout. If you're Sydney, you know that you've got Kayla George to come back into the lineup, having missed a chunk of that earlier first half with foul trouble. So she's only played the 12 minutes. She does have the 9 points, 4 rebounds and 3 assists. So clearly she's a big catalyst or piece within your offense. And they've only got the 12 assists so far, so they've been able to keep the spread of scorers going, but you find that that's going to go up a level once you've got CG out on the floor with you. Nicholson's involved in patterned action, so 13 points on 50% shooting. Emma Clark and Kayla George have both shot the 3 at 50%, so they're able to keep streams of offense going in that context, but they've only had the 2 free throws, so can they get on the line a whole lot more? 0 fast break points for the Flames as well. For Melbourne, I think the prescription has been fantastic for them. They're patterned in their O. Multiple people are looking to score. You've got Froling and you've got Blitzarves being far more aggressive and clear with where their shots are going to come from. So you see their points production go up. You've got Blitzarves on the perimeter and Froling inside mainly, but then Jordan Canada being able to get people involved in the game, but then mix that in with her own scoring as well. It's a really beautiful spread that they've got throughout their offense.
So in saying that, what do you think is the one key message or the one key thing each team needs to do to win this game?
For Sydney, get Kayla George back in, and I think that they've got to hold their nerve with that, try and find their way to get on the free throw line and get some scores in transition as well, just so they can get some of the easier stuff and keep the scoreboard ticking over. For the Melbourne Boomers, it's more of the same. I'd like to see their possession play go up a level. There's only the 4 offensive rebounds for them for such a physical team. Can they continue to lock the ball up, frustrate Sydney by having less possessions in the game, and create, if it's the likes of your Frolings, the Hillmans, the Blitzarves, high percentage looks close to the basket just by competing.
So Melbourne have gone perfect to start their season, 2 from 2. Sydney Flames have gone 1 from 1. We saw a nail-biting game last night, Mark, between Southside and Townsville. That grand final rematch ended up a point the difference. So it's going to be a pretty close one, we suspect, in this one. Obviously, 4 points the margin. How do you expect the rest of the game to play out? Do you think it's leading towards a Melbourne win, or do you think Sydney can get back on the front foot and finish their start the way they started this game?
It's hard to look at any real indication in either way because of how even both of the halves have been. I think the Flames, if they can keep Kayla George out of foul trouble, they've got the ability to get over the line. But the way that this thing has led in terms of the Jordan Canada influence, my money's going to be on the Melbourne Boomers being able to get a win by a couple of baskets. I think it's going to stay close throughout.
2 real new-look teams as well. Only 2 returning players for Melbourne this season and 3 for the Flames. I mean, how hard is it to gel together so early on in the start of the season? It seems like both teams are doing it quite well.
Yeah, they are, and it's always a challenge and something that gets better with time. So the exposure that you have to one another, it's a sample size that you try to grow exponentially as much as you can, and you know that you're going to have the same amount of games and practices as just about everybody else, but sometimes it comes down to the things that you do off the floor. Can you have team bonding type of opportunities where people can get to know one another as human beings and be able to generate an understanding of what makes one another tick or how to get the best out of one another, so that those trusting and consistent relationships can translate onto the basketball court.
Well, Jordan Canada's had a great start for the Melbourne Boomers, one of the new pieces to their puzzle this season. She's had a great start, as I mentioned, in this game. 8 points and 8 assists, Mark. What have you made of her performance so far?
Well, she's been brilliant, and kind of ...16 total assists as a team. You've got the Melbourne Boomers with 15 just in the first half, namely because of the influence of Jordan Canada.
She's been electric to start off this game. She's had a great start to the season, Jordan Canada, averaging 10.5 points, 5 rebounds and 9 assists. A hot contender for that Golden Hands award, so probably watch out, Callie Wilson, if you're looking from a Bendigo point of view. But Sydney Flames and Melbourne Boomers back out onto the floor. Both coaches talking to their huddles now. We're expecting a great finish to this game. It's been a great opening half, very close throughout. And we know Froling and Blitzarves are both in double-digit points for the Boomers. Sydney have Nicholson and Richards in double digits. And Richards is probably one we haven't touched on too much so far. Mark, what have you made of her performance so far?
Well, just playing her role. So she's not looking to force any of the action. She knows that she's not going to be a primary scoring option within this Flames lineup, but when the ball comes, that she's going to be a trusted piece within it. So we've seen her hit 2 jump shots, but then in that second quarter, being able to get to the rim with that explosive first step quickness that she showed in the game against Bendigo, she's able to show the tools that she's got in the offensive toolkit early on here in this first half.
It's been a highly offensive game to start off with as well. 60-48, Melbourne leading the way in field goal percentage, and then 55-31, Melbourne also leading the way in three-point percentage. So both teams are shooting at a pretty good clip from both field range and three-point range to start off this one. Let's see how long they can keep it up for. It's a pretty taxing game. 48 plays 44 to tip off the third period here at Qudos Bank Arena. Flames searching for their second win of the season. Melbourne looking to go 3 from 3. and continue their dominance at the top of the table. Flames sitting 8th at the moment. So much hype about the players they brought in. They'll want to get a bit higher than 8th on the ladder, you sense. George on the floor, but couldn't quite pull down the rebound. Jordan Canada, we spoke about her start, on the verge of a double-double. 8 points, 8 assists. Reed scoops it into Blitzarves, and now Canada. Ducks left, chucks it to Froling. And she gets to the line, as she so often does, Keely Froling.
She just makes great decisions. I use the word gravity. So here where she goes, the gravity draws a second defender, Dee Richards, and then that gives you a 1 second advantage to be able to play with. Do you use it to try and score, or do you give it to someone else? And being so unselfish, Jordan Canada gives it to the cutting Keely Froling.
So I believe that foul was called on Kayla George. I'll have to check that, but if so, it would be her 4th. Yep, it was. 4th foul for Kayla George. So not the start she would have wanted. Mark mentioned her as being the key. She needs to stay on the floor in order for Sydney to propel themselves to a win. Although they do have a lot of playmakers on the floor right now. And here's Nicholson leading all scorers for them. George staying out there for now. Bradley. Richards couldn't quite collect the rebound, I should say. Hillman. Reed. Back to Naz Hillman, and now Canada. They're just going to be patient and share it around. Blitzarves now, 10 seconds on the shot clock, just drives in beautifully. And Sarah Blitzarves pulls all her tricks out of her bag and gets her first points of the second half. Richards now, Bradley in some space, doesn't want to use it. George. Richards again. Bradley. Shot clock ticks down to 6. She pulls the trigger. A bit of a short shot.
Some hesitation creeping into the Flames lineup. And one of the things that was a challenge for them in game 1 against Perth was they would go through their patterns offense and the ball would end with somebody going one-on-one at a late shot clock.
Froling, George laying right off her. But she can't convert the shot. Bradley. On the left. Foul called.
Strong straight line drive by Paige Bradley. If she can get involved trying to get on the rim or get herself onto the free throw line, that'll really help.
Impressive speed here from Paige Bradley, averaging 3 points, 2.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists. Spent 6 years playing in Germany, University of Denver product, born in Texas, spent some time with Hobart in the NBL 1 as well. So she is familiar with playing basketball here down under. Coming off 2 points and 4 assists against Bendigo. Now has herself 3 points so far for this game, along with 3 assists. Now gets her 4th. So here's Canada. Froling on Richards. Reed and Nicholson. Star-studded matchups wherever you look. Canada can't find that option quite yet. Shot clock down to 2. She has to go herself. Hillman tried to scoop it back in. It's a shot clock violation. Better defense there from Sydney. Trailing 46-52. We know how close it's been throughout this game. Their biggest lead was 7 points, Sydney. Melbourne's biggest lead, 11 points. Quite close. Blitzarves in the corner. Froling got pushed under the basket.
Flames will pick up this foul. It's on number 22, Paige Bradley.
So Paige Bradley committing the foul there.
And these are the benefits that you have when you have the likes of Froling or Blitzarves. Even Naz Hillman's a great offensive rebounder. When they go and compete for every offensive board, you put yourself in a position where you're going to draw these little fouls like that because there's an urgency to try and stop you from getting the ball.
Reed. Here's Canada. Shot clock down to 4. Reed goes for the drive and gets the bucket to go as well. That is a smooth move from Tara Reed.
She's been sneaky efficient for the Boomers. Up to 11 points.
Making Making it look easy out there, Reed. Clark gets the good response. Canada now. Hoping to respond. Hillman. Reed. Gets a cutting Hillman. Gets fouled as she went in. Clark can't believe it. So the foul's starting to creep into this game here for Sydney. You know, Kayla George's personal foul troubles. And now Emma Clark committing a foul. Her second for the game. Third team foul for the Flames this quarter. Hillman gets the first one to go. 5 points for her so far this game, along with a couple of rebounds. 14 points and 9.5 rebounds are her averages so far for Melbourne, so she's coming with a bang. The Cleveland-born products. Spending some time with Atlanta in the WNBA as well. Bradley kicks it out to Nicholson. Trying to work around Reed. George just scoops it into Richards. Can't quite find herself some space, but found herself a foul. Reed thought she went straight up. Just like that, it's a bit of fatigue setting in, a bit of stop-start, a bit of fouls coming into this game. Tara Reed commits her first foul. Richards feeling a bit fed up with that. And she's headed to the line. 10 points for Dee Richards. 4 rebounds. Make that 11 points now. Spent some time with the New York Liberty in the WNBA, the NCAA champion player with Baylor. Missed a lot of last season in the WNBA through injury. She's making the most of her minutes in the Cygnett WNBL so far this season. It's Dee Richards. Now she'll head to the bench for a much-deserved rest. Canada staying out there for Melbourne. She's played a lot of this game. They'll share it around here, Reed. Got Blitzars in the corner eventually, and now Canada with it. Shot clock ticks down to 2. Canada just pops it up and pops it in. Count that. 1 to come. Silences the crowd. She's in line for a double-double here.
This is the key decision you have to make if you're Coach Guy Malloy. So you see Kayla George pull out of the contest of trying to stay in front of Jordan Canada, which is a tough ask for anybody. But because of the foul trouble, she's going to play hesitant at both ends of the floor. The choice that you have is, do you roll the dice to keep her out there, or do you rest her for the rest of this quarter, knowing that you can roll her back out in the fourth with her 4 fouls? You know, she's got as many fouls as there is the quarter that you're in, and it's a little bit of a safer proposition.
Canada 9 assists. Still sitting on those 10 points. Couldn't quite convert the 3-point play. Bradley now off and running for Sydney. Found some space, dumped it into McSpadden. Was rejected from behind by Canada. Froling gets going. Canada using all the moves on Clark. A lot taller, but Canada has the speed here. Froling has the 3. Not quite. Ball just trickles out of bounds.
I'm not sure whether it's fatigue, but the Boomers settling a whole lot for perimeter play in some of the previous possessions here. They've got the Flames with the 4 fouls on the ball already. It's a chance to spend half the quarter at the free throw line if you can draw one more foul.
George thought about the shot. Handed it off to Clark instead. He wanted George back, but Canada there to pick it off. Thought about using Blitzars, wanted her behind the back, but Nicholson was there to read it. Canada has to pop back now on defense, right in Bradley's face. Nicholson now loves this shot. Couldn't convert this time round. So now Canada just wants to hold things up.
Defense.
Team leading by 8.
Defense. Defense.
Reed into Blitzars.
Defense.
Froling was there for some help, but Blitzars wants to go on her own. Taps it back, but no one's there. Only Nicholson for the Flames. No one ahead of her. Thinks about going herself. McSpadden floods back. Clark scoops it up, but can't scoop it in. McSpadden finds herself with a board. No bucket to go with it. So frantic play there from Sydney. Doesn't quite result in a score. And now Melbourne can extend their lead and perhaps go into a double-digit lead. The biggest lead of the game was 11 points. Canada still with it. 5 seconds to play. And I think that might count. A foul and she hits the deck.
And again, a byproduct of the hesitation with the foul trouble for Kayla George to stay in front of this. You force another teammate to have to come and contest that shot. They're on the move. There's more of an opportunity for them to foul, or more of a propensity, I should say, for them to foul. So if you're Coach Guy Malloy, you've got a really big decision to make. This game's now out to double digits. Is there benefit to having Kayla on the floor, or is it worrisome here in this period of time with 3:40 on the clock where the lead is heading out in the direction that you don't want it to?
What would you be doing if you were Guy Malloy right now, Mark?
I mean, look, I think he trusts his star, and that's what he's done, but you've got to, at some point, believe what you see. It's heading in the wrong direction. The Melbourne Boomers can go at Kayla George as a matchup and create advantageous situations. I'd probably sit her till the end of the third quarter and then start her in the fourth.
3.5 minutes to play. Melbourne back out to that game-high 11-point lead. Kira Rowe onto the floor. Bradley getting involved on the opposite end. She'll head to the line herself.
A good game awareness from Paige Bradley in this quarter. So, where they're down a scorer with Madgen not in the lineup, and then having George in foul trouble, as we mentioned, who's going to be a little bit more hesitant, probably going to pick and pop a whole lot more. She's trying to get to the basket and get them on the free throw line, which they didn't have a whole lot of at half-time. She's been able to get there twice in this quarter alone.
Looks like the Flames might be in the bonus as well. So Paige Bradley's probably played one of her best games for Sydney so far. 4 points and 3 assists. Doing well to be that leading point guard today. Gets the first free throw to go. Averaging 3 points, 2.5 rebounds a game.
2 for 2 for Paige Bradley.
And she knocks down both free throws. Heads straight to the bench. And Vanessa Panousis will come on, you think, for the rest of the third term. That's the job of guarding Canada right now. Red hot Jordan Canada, 13 points, 9 assists. Can she get one here? Davidson couldn't quite get it. Monique Conti pops on the floor and knocks down her first points for the Melbourne Boomers in the 2023-24 Cygnett WNBL season. Music to the ears of Boomers fans. Conti spent the last 2 seasons at Southside, back in Boomers colours, the team she started playing for. And Rowe knocks it down on the opposite end straight away. So Kira Rowe with the good look there for her team. They're still trailing. Melbourne want to extend their lead. Davidson's been a bit quiet. Comes in for the screen to help Canada here. Getting to work on Vanessa Panousis behind the back. Panousis keeps her at bay. 3 seconds to work with for Canada. She pulls the trigger. It's good defense there by Panousis. And it allows Nicholson to get off and running to Richards. Back to Nicholson. Richards has 2 players to contend with. Steps back and finds some space. Couldn't find a basket to go with it. Canada. Froling. Had all the space, just couldn't convert. Panousis wants to go herself. That one rims out as well, so it's up and down. Basketball here for both teams. Conti kicks it to Reed. Davidson. Reed baseline. Gets bumped as she went through.
Fatigue looking like it's playing a part here. It's been an arm wrestle for 2.5 quarters so far. You see both teams 3 straight possessions, nobody going to compete for an offensive rebound. Now sometimes that's by design to get numbers back in transition defensively to try and stop layups, but it looks like we've got a fatigued set of battling bodies out on the floor.
So Flames in the bonus. Free throws to come from now on for the Melbourne Boomers. And Reed's looking good. Her 12th point for the game. She's shooting 80% from the field, 5 rebounds and 2 assists. Good averages for the season as well. 14 points per game, 8 rebounds. And she's brought her team out to an 11-point lead. Crowd just a bit silent at the moment. Seeing what they like from their Flames outfit. Rowe can change that quickly. Good couple of baskets here from Kira Rowe. Who's known so heavily for her defensive game, and she's really doing well to change that opinion. Getting good on the offensive end. So too is Davidson. That's her first points for the game. Big role for Penina Davidson this season. Without Kayla George next to her in the lineup now. Panousis. Here is George. Goes on her own. Froling there for the rebound. Canada with that double-double now. 13 points, 10 assists. Froling. Conti. Shot clock down to 10. Conti still with it. Gets it to Reed. And that looked good from the moment it left her hand. Tedar Reed feeling it at Qudos Bank Arena. Melbourne out to a game-high lead now. Panousis, George, Richards found some space. And probably didn't need to do that little step move under the basket. Affected the shot. 10 seconds here for Melbourne to extend their lead even further. At the end of the third period, Canada couldn't quite let it fly. And the Flames collect the rebound, but they've got a lot of work to do because it was all Melbourne in that third period. At three-quarter time, Melbourne 71 leads Sydney 57. It's a great quarter from the Boomers. Mark Alabakov, 20 points to 13. How do you think they got on top?
Well, persistence, number one. Reed has been fantastic. She's really come alive, so it brings the Melbourne Boomers up to 4 double-digit scorers. So the scoring spread has been throughout the lineup, so you never know where the points are going to come from. They've had 3 direct scores. I keep going back to this matchup with Kayla George and the advantage that it creates for you if you're the Melbourne Boomers, if you go at her as a direct matchup, because there's going to be a hesitation to try and get into any sort of physical confrontation. Like we see here, pulls out of the contest, but it creates an advantage in numbers for the Melbourne Boomers, or a spatial advantage there for Jordan Canada to get herself a score.
Good to see Monique Conti getting on the board as well for Melbourne. I guess for Sydney now, Mark, I mean, what's Guy Malloy's message at this three-quarter time huddle?
Well, I think you've got to get quicker shots. You've got to try and create more opportunities to score, and more, as simple as that sounds, being 14 points down, you need early offense and quick offense. So try and get something in transition. You're still at the 0 fast break points, and it's tough when you've got the fatigue that clearly and visibly played a part in that third quarter to try and get yourself some easy baskets. You're not going to execute your half-court offense and make up a 14-point deficit. It's got to come from effort-based plays, whether that's in transition, whether that's offensive rebounds and putbacks, or getting on the free throw line. I think they've got to change what they're doing, maybe defensively. You've got to break a losing pattern, because right now there's other ways that you can protect perhaps the foul trouble of Kayla George. You can play some zone. You can do something that tries to break the rhythm that the Melbourne Boomers have been able to get in on the offensive end.
And they have exactly the great word for it, Mark, rhythm. 56% from the field, 46% from three-point range, shooting in a fantastic clip this entire game. Sydney not doing so bad either, 41% from the field, and then from three-point range at 31%. So they could definitely get themselves back into this one. They started the game really well, got themselves out to a 7-point lead, their biggest lead of the game, but now Melbourne, their biggest lead of the game right now is 14 points. And Kalea's going to start with the ball here in this fourth quarter. Melbourne looking for 4 straight wins to start their season. Oh, sorry, 3 straight wins. Davidson getting herself in on the action early. And the crowd just comes to a hush. Richards to Rowe. Richards couldn't handle it. That's not the start the Flames would have wanted.
There's a phrase I often use, make the play that you see, not the one that you want. And I can see, this being applicable. Some of the plays that have looked out of sync for the Sydney Flames has been as a result of making the play that they want, because that's what was drawn up on the board, as opposed to what the game has dictated in front of them.
Keely Froling off to the line to start off this fourth period for her. 16 points, 62% from the field. Froling's gone.
Really liked her game. She's going to the basket. She's an athletic, tall 3-4 type that can play through contact. My challenge to her and Blitzarves, can you make some of these and ones? Can you play through the contact so that you get a 3-point play out of it? They'd be an absolute bear to deal with, this Boomers lineup, if those two can play that way.
She's had 9 free throw opportunities this game, Keely Froling. Richards now looking to make up her mistake earlier on. Froling there into Conti. Coming off another amazing AFLW season with Richmond. Couldn't quite get that shot to fall. Richards. Rowe likes the look of it and saw the bottom of the net.
That's a 5-point turnaround. It's not great shot selection by Monique Conti down the other end of the floor. Like, the clock is your friend. You can out-execute. You've been able to for 3 quarters this Sydney Flames lineup, but a rushed shot leads to a defensive scramble and a wide-open 3. 5-point turnaround.
So shot clock down to 3 here for the Boomers. Blitzard turns around on one leg. The Flames will get the ball back here. Kira Rowe having an impact on the game now. She's up to 8 points, 3 from 6 from the field. Paige Bradley with ball in hand right now, going up against Kalea. We've seen a lot of each other in NBL 1. Hobart up against Mount Gambier. Kalea with Mount Gambier. Rowe into George. Guarded by Davidson. Bradley. Nice little bucket there from Paige Bradley.
Coming up big and an aggressive mindset offensively, continuing for Paige Bradley.
Here's Froling. Going to add to her points tally. Goes straight into the defender and Nicholson. Great defense from Loz Nicholson. We know how renowned she is for her defensive prowess. Go again offensively here, Sydney. Bradley's got 7 seconds to work with. Hands it off to Nicholson. George up against 2. No worries for Kayla George. 3 straight buckets here for the Flames. Forces Chris Lucas to take a timeout. His team still leading 74-64. And this timeout is brought to you by Ford Aussie Hoops. Whether your little one is already shooting hoops in the backyard or simply looking to get out there and give basketball a go, the Ford Aussie Hoops program is the perfect way to kickstart their basketball journey. Ford Aussie Hoops is the perfect introduction to the world of basketball for kids aged 5 to 10 years. So make sure you register today. Find a program near you. It's where a lot of these players started, Mark, but right now it's the Boomers getting on top. But it's been a great start to the quarter for the Flames. What do you think Guy Malloy's message is in this huddle?
Well, I mean, he'd be optimistic. So you're within 10 points, and in this league, that can go in a minute, with some hot shooting or some great defense that turns into offense back in transition. For them, I thought that late clock, they didn't rush that last shot. They went from the corner to Nicholson and straight in and got Kayla George involved in the play. I think she's going to draw a whole lot of confidence from that, but they've got to go for the win here. So there can't be any hesitation in the way that they play, and lean a lot of that towards Kayla George. She's such a dangerous and talented offensive player. She's got to go for broke, and if she fouls out, she fouls out. But you've got to go out trying to get the W.
So 10 points between these two teams, 7.5 minutes still to play in this fourth term. Really is anyone's game. Momentum swings have been a big part of this contest so far at Qudos Bank Arena. Kalea getting past Nicholson. And now kicking it out to Blitzarves. That's a beautiful shot from Sarah Blitzarves. Loves that range. And it's a good circuit breaker. Richards now just rising over the top of Froling and then getting her eye in straight out of that timeout. So it looks like the tempo's increased after a bit of a break for both teams. Froling thought about it, went inside instead, can't bank it in. George is there. Bradley off and running.
Probably unlucky not to get on the free throw line with that play too.
Bradley double team, Conti and Davidson corralling her. It means Rose left open to get her 10th point of the game. So 2 straight buckets for Sydney. Coming off the back of that timeout. Kalea. Nicholson harassing her. And now Richards comes to help. Shot clock down to 5. Blitzars gets the moves going on Rowe. Foul called. Guy Malloy not too sure about it.
For the Boomers, you're probably going in. I can hear that buzzer go off. You're probably going back in with Jordan Canada here to close you out in this last 6 minutes.
Number 7, Dallas Hillman. Number 11, Gerald Reed.
So Keely Froling coming off the floor.
At the line, Sarah Blitzer.
Blitzars at the line. Naz Hillman back onto the floor. Sarah Blitzars up to 16 points for the game. 3 big 3-pointers. 4 rebounds and 4 assists. Looking right at home in Boomers colours. Bradley now. Trying to get the crowd back up and about. Richards. Back out to Bradley. George into Nicholson. That one just trickles out of bounds. It'll be a Melbourne ball. Tedar Reed back onto the floor. So they've gone for 2 tall options. Canada's still out there on the bench. Oh no, she's back on the floor now. Good sub there from Chris Lucas. Canada's been a game changer. 13 points, 11 assists. Reed has got her eye in as well. Blitzars among double digits, and she goes again, Sarah Blitzars. This time it didn't pay off. Richards, no one ahead of her, has to go up against Reed herself. And it was great defense by Reed. And now she can get going through Canada. Canada splits the D, scoops it back over, but Nicholson was there to read it. She's got Bradley if she needs her, finds her. Bradley gets the M1 to go.
What an impact she's having on this contest. Gets out and runs the floor on the end of a fast break here. When you run ahead of your matchup, we can throw the ball to you, and then you've got a 1-second advantage to be able to finish at the rim. Does a great job of being able to wait where the contact in the air across the back of her head and still be able to make the basket.
It's so different to that previous play where Richards was the only one, no one ahead of her, and Reed affected the shot. And now Bradley potentially they go for a 3-point play. That's exactly what she does. 8 points the margin, 5 minutes 20 to play. Melbourne with it now from Canada. Reed kicks it out to Davidson. 2 tall ferns combine. George strips it away. Has Rowe. Another 3-point play potentially for Sydney. And they're getting themselves right back into this contest. Steal from George started it all, and then Rowe there to finish it off.
And this is the key for Sydney. You know, we've made a big point about Kayla George's foul trouble, but you've got to play this game to win now. So she put herself in a 50-50 contest, got her hand to the basketball. This is playing to win. Knocks the ball loose to her advantage, goes off the dribble and finds the cutting Kira Rowe.
Hasn't Kira Rowe exploded into this game? 13 points for Kira Rowe off the bench. And we're over the halfway mark of the 4th term. Sydney fighting tooth and nail to get through this game. Get their 2nd win of the season. Hoping to go back-to-back and knock off this red-hot Melbourne Boomers team at home. Canada looking to extend her team's lead. Bradley in her way, it affects the shot. Great defense from Paige Bradley. The Flames bench is up and about. The crowd's up and about as well. 79 playing 74. Flames ball.
Let's go,
Bradley,
Sydney. Let's go.
their best performance for the Flames so far this season, 11 points, 4 assists. Can help herself to more here potentially. Clark, Rowe, here is Bradley. George wants to provide the screen. Bradley gets it stripped away from her and Reed touched it last. So Sydney have a go from the baseline. 6 seconds to work with on the shot clock. Everyone can just take a breather for the time being. Clark finds George. The quick release. Just fell short of Nicholson. Good hustle on the boards. A fresh 12 here for Sydney. Just lost her footing there. Melbourne get a crucial stop.
The foul is on number 13.
So a foul call.
Kayla George,
and I think it's Kayla George out of the game. Either way, timeout called. We'll have the fallout from that as we head into the benches now. 79 playing 74. 4 minutes left in this game. And this timeout is brought to you by the WNBL app. The official WNBL app is finally here. We don't want you to miss a moment of the action. Therefore, for live scores, highlights, all your player and team info, and more, download the free WNBL app today. So confirmation that that was Kayla George's 5th foul. She is out of the game with 11 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists to her name. Just when the Flames decided to get their mojo back and get back into this game, she has to take a seat now, Mark. How does it affect the rest of this contest?
Well, in a major way, because you've got one of your tallest players and most experienced athletes that everybody will draw confidence from being on the floor with is now off the floor. So you're going to be a smaller lineup. Sometimes that can be within your favour, but I think you're going to look at the Melbourne Boomers trying to be really, really competitive on possession play and with their interior play. So you'll see a whole lot more post feeds, a whole lot more people going to the offensive glass to try to make use of the size discrepancy. That's going to be something that's going to push this game out when fatigue plays a part. In 4 minutes, the Boomers can get themselves up to 6, 8, 10 points just off those sorts of plays here in the rest of this contest.
So 79 playing 74, 4 minutes left in this contest. Kayla George has to watch from the bench for the rest of this game. Sydney have got themselves right back into this contest on the back of a 17-8 fourth period. Melbourne still hold that slim lead. I'll try and get going off the back of this timeout. Canada goes on her own against Richards, scoops it in, and that is classy from Jordan Canada.
Well weighted too, wore the contact and then released to be able to find all that open airspace to make the layup.
Here's Richards now with a bit of space, and the air one to come. So Dee Richards putting Paige Bradley to work and getting some reward herself. Now we'll head to the line for one more. So a couple of three-point plays here for Sydney. It's the reason they've got themselves back into this contest. But this time Richards can't convert. I wonder how crucial that'll be. 5-point margin. Canada. Into Reed. Now Blitzarves. 17 points for her this game. Erin Foley leading all covers. Blitzarves, 19 points now. She's feeling it today, Sarah Blitzarves. Bradley now. Tries to kick it out, but Hillman, so strong defensively, cuts it off. And hands it off to Canada. Under 3 minutes now. Can the Boomers hold on, or can the Flames cause the upset win? Canada gets the air one on the Melbourne end.
That's a tough finish. Fading away from the hoop and out of bounds, wearing the contact on your non-preferred left hand. This is world-class stuff here by Jordan Canada.
She has been unreal in this game. Really proving her MVP credentials for the season, really. And a timeout called. And I wonder why. Jordan Canada, 15 points, 11 assists. Boomers leading 85-76. Guy Malloy having some very strong words with the referee there. So now he's going to calm himself down and go back into this huddle and deliver perhaps one last message to his team. What do you think his message is here, Mark?
Well, I mean, it's going to be the foul discipline thing, but they've got to speed up the way that they play on the offensive end. So you've got not a whole lot of possessions left in the game. The margin is still within touching distance. It's not out of range, but you've got to try to increase your frequency of shots. So that's going to come out of transition, or it's going to come out of competing on the O-glass and being able to get the basketball back. It'll be those little edges. I used the phrase earlier that you won't execute your way back into this contest. I don't think there's enough time within the game for that. It's going to be those little effort-based edges that you're going to be able to eat into this deficit and put yourself into a position where the whole landscape of the game changes. How do the Boomers play? Do they change the way that their mentality is if this becomes a game that's within a basket?
What do you think Chris Lucas is saying?
Well, for Chris Lucas, it's a massive basket for them. They're the opposite. The clock is their friend. They don't need to rush through anything unless it's wide open in transition. They can execute the full 24 seconds of the shot clock, try to get something to the interior where they put themselves in positions to be fouled. But then also with the size mismatches close to the rim, all players get tired, but the bigger players don't get any shorter in the fourth quarter.
So Jordan Cannon are at the line. 17 points, shooting 70% from the field, 11 assists, 2 steals, 3 rebounds. She has done it all today. And she converts the three-point play. The team out to a 10-point lead now, just over 2.5 minutes left in this game. Sydney staring down the barrel of defeat, but that Nicholson basket will help for sure. We're going to have another timeout straight off the back of it. No momentum whatsoever for Sydney to work with as they head to the bench. 86, playing 78. 2.5 minutes left to play.
And you see the competitive spirit from both of the head coaches, from just making these
going down to Perth and then getting a win against Bendigo on Friday night in Mildura. They have a short turnaround as well. On Wednesday night, they face the Capitals, so not much time to rest for the Flames. Blitzarves into Hillman. That is beautiful basketball from the Boomers.
Beautiful execution of the flex cut there from Hillman, and a great screen by Jordan Canada to get in the road of her defender.
Bradley now just gets it tapped away from her. Hillman's right there with her. Bradley manages to get away. Nicholson in the corner. That one falls short. Hillman playing a big part off the back of this timeout. Canada. Less than 2 minutes to play in this game. 10-point lead for Melbourne. Blitzarves. Back to Canada. Shot clock down in single figures, and that won't bother Melbourne at all. Froling. Nice layup. 90 playing 78 now. Keely Froling feeling it, and we have yet another timeout called. So both coaches not giving an inch to either team. We know how big momentum swings have been in this game, Mark, so both coaches are playing it very smartly. 90 plays 78, minute 39 left. Top scorers for each team on your screen now. Blitzarves and Froling each with 19. Canada with 18 and Reed with 16. So 4 players with double figures for Melbourne. Miles Hillman on 8 points as well, so she's not far off. She can get going. And then for Sydney, they've also got 4 players in double figures. Sorry, 5 players in double figures. Richards with 16, Nicholson with 15, Rowe got herself up to 13, George and Bradley each on 11. So you think with that output, they'd be winning the game, but Melbourne have just found a way to grind through. And off the back of a really strong third quarter, and now can take that momentum into the fourth term. After a couple of timeouts, they find themselves with a comfortable lead with 1:39 left to play.
Well, both teams are becoming more and more organised with every game that they have. You know, there's a better synergy and a better clarity between both lineups, and that's why you get the higher output from the starting group and the team stars, and where they're able to spread it across multiple people. It can make, you know, well, these two teams you expect to see within the finals picture. There's your reason why. You know, the capacity to have almost 5 players in each team in double digits is just a testament to that. But then don't forget, we've got Christy Wallace still to come into this Boomers lineup and Tess Madgen to come into the Sydney lineup. So that's going to be a salivating matchup when they're both healthy and ready to go, and these two teams match up at another time.
Shanice Swain also set to come back into the Sydney lineup as well. A moment out with stress fracture. Saw her in a moon bit earlier on in the game. Bradley gets that picked off by Canada. She's been doing it all this game, and Jordan Canada gets her 20th point of this ball game. Kira Rowe looking to move it quickly for Sydney. Clark, good hands there by Blitzars to affect the shot. Canada, Chris Lucas asking for them to spread. Reed gets the message. Back with Canada now.
It's smart by Jordan Canada to wave away the pick that was going to come from Blitzarves that was going to have Lauren Nicholson able to switch onto the ball with.
Oh, Reed, a beautiful arc. It looks like we're going to head to the bench once again. Tedara Reed letting it fly. And this Melbourne Boomers team about to complete another win. Go 3 from 3 to start the season. 95 playing 78. It's just a few subs instead. Taylor Simmons coming onto the floor. Lily Rotuno on Kalea, Conti and Davidson. So all the starters off. McSpannon finishes that play off as well. It's been a great performance from the Melbourne Boomers. Let's see if these bench players can put even more smiles on their faces. Kalea scooping it into Simmons. Yet to score for Melbourne this season. 95 playing 80. The Boomers next up facing Bendigo next Sunday, 3 p.m. at Parkville. That's their first home game for the season. All 3 wins so far from them have been on the road. Kalea into Davidson. Can't quite complete the shot. Emma Clark pulls up for a 3. They've just got to go and shoot anything now, but it's all come a bit too late. Leia happy to hold it up. Highly offensive game, really high scoring, high tempo, and it's going to end in a Melbourne Boomers win. They continue their perfect start to the season, 3 from 3 in the Cygnett WNBL. They defeated Sydney for the 11th straight time. The Flames have not tasted a win against this team since the 8th of December in 2018. And at full time, it's Melbourne 95, Sydney 80, Qudos Bank Arena. And it's fantastic to see Tess Madgen getting around some of her former teammates, Kayla George as well. A big hug to Panina Davidson. But a brilliant performance from Melbourne today, Mark. They deserve the win. They deserve a perfect start to the season. What did you make of their performance today?
Well, gutsy, but just an organised efficiency. They get better with every game that they play. So to have multiple players, 4 of them within double digits, so they shot nearly 60% from the field. They shot 52% from the 3. They got on the free throw line for 22 attempts where they shot 81%. So keeping all streams of offense going, but in a patterned way that got people shots that, they're pet shots, right? So you get blitzarves, the open catch and shoot three, or the ability to go off the bounce and get to the rim, where we saw that beautiful reverse layup that she had. Keely Froling to the rim and being able to play through contact and use the length that she has at 6'2", 6'3", and the athleticism that she brings. Hillman chipping in and being able to get you a couple of baskets. But then what about the game management by Jordan Canada? She wants the big moments, she produces in the big moments, whether that's on the scoreboard or managing the game, getting others involved, knowing the time and score. She's as good an import as we've had in our competition ever.
And she is our player of the game with 20 points, 13 assists, 4 rebounds, 3 steals, 72% from the field. She is really staking her claim to perhaps be the MVP of the Cygnett WNBL 2023-24 season, Mark.
Well, she's a phenom, and she's able to get to the basket and score and play through some contact. She hit herself a three-point shot, which can dispel any sort of thought that that's a weakness within her game, but gets others involved. And then the pace that she plays at baits a second defender to come and play her, and she gets other people involved in the game off the back of her work. So in high percentage type of scoring opportunities, like this jump shot here for Keely Froling. The game management late in the game is what's most impressive for me. So a mature head who wants the big moment. She wasn't in a rush when there was limited possessions left in this game. Brought the ball over halfway. The Flames tried to throw a double team at her. She gave the ball up, faked to go and cut away into space, but then came back and wanted the ball back in her hands to make the play right at the very end. And it was that drive and kick to Tara Reid at the very, very end that iced it.
And Dee Dee Rich is probably best on for Sydney with 16 points. Lauren Nicholson with 15, George and Bradley with 11, and Rowe with 13 as well. We're looking at the highlights from the fourth quarter, and after a big start from Sydney, it was Melbourne who just got the ascendancy, 24 points to 23. What was the key to finding their way back into this one? I think Kayla George going off would have had a big impact.
Yeah, and that's the challenge. So her being able to be a focal point is always going to be helpful to your team. For me, them getting back into the contest was the impact of the role players, like Paige Bradley, who you see here running out and leading the break. So her having an aggressive mindset where she's going to take her opportunities to score and be able to deliver the ball when the opportunity comes. Those things are going to be hallmarks of her game if she becomes a consistent WNBL player. But then the impact of Rowe as well, and then Dee Dee Richards down the stretch. You're going to need impact from all 5 people on the floor, especially on the offensive end, whether that's scoring or creating for other people, if your team's going to be successful in finals. And Rowe, Bradley, and then towards the end, Richards did that for them. So it's promising signs moving forward for the Flames.
Looking at the full-time stats, 56% from the field from Melbourne, 46% for Sydney. Three-point percentage was 29 for Sydney, and then 52 from Melbourne. So they shot so impressively in the game. They led assists 27 to 22. Rebounds as well, pretty good numbers as well. 32 rebounds to 33, so pretty close. Sydney just getting the win in that sense. And a lot of free throws there for Melbourne. They had 22 compared to Sydney's 11, so got to the line as well and completed a really impressive performance at Qudos Bank Arena. In terms of their leading scorers, Canada with 20 points, Reid, Froling and Blitzarves all with 19 apiece, Hillman with 8, Davidson 4 and Kalea 3. So a really even scoring spread from the Boom as they head into next week against Bendigo, full of confidence back in front of their home fans on Sunday afternoon. Sydney have to lick their wounds really quickly because on Wednesday night they're going to be facing the Capitals. That is kicking off round 3, games to come. Sydney and the Caps, of course, on Wednesday. Then we head to Perth. They face Bendigo on Friday night. Adelaide and Southside and Townsville and the Caps in a Saturday doubleheader. And then, as we mentioned, Melbourne facing Bendigo to round out the games on Sunday. Get your tickets at WNBL.basketball. You're not going to want to miss any of these games. It's Wednesday night's game on KO and then the rest of the weekend on 9 Now. We thank you for joining us today on 9 Now, though, because after 4 action-packed periods, it was Melbourne getting the job done over Sydney by 15 points at Qudos Bank Arena on Wangul land. On behalf of Julia Montesano, Mark Elabakov and our amazing production team, we hope you enjoy the coverage and have a great rest of the day.